Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday. We've got lots and lots of topics to discuss today, but before we jump into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please also subscribe to the channel. Okay, cool. So we're going to talk a bit about the manager. We're going to talk a bit about some injuries. We're going to talk about a potential return for Álvaro Fernández, as well as some other bits as well. Now, as always, I like to try and make the shows interactive. I like to try and get you guys' opinions as Manchester United fans. And this is the question I have for you today. Do you think Erik ten Hag will make it till the end of the season as Manchester United manager? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll answer that question now as well, because I always like to make sure I answer it. I can't ask you the question without answering it myself. Obviously, we assume at this point that he has kept his job for now. We know that Ineos had this meeting that was being described as crisis talks, which were incorrect. It wasn't crisis talks. It was just a pre-planned meeting that takes place every single month in London. I think it was on Tuesday, wasn't it, this meeting? And he's still the manager, and it's now Friday. I think if another manager was going to come in during the international break, they would come in by now. Our next game is a week tomorrow. What would be the benefit of waiting until next week to sack him to bring in someone else, So I think we can safely assume that Erik ten Hag will be managing Manchester United against Brentford. And I think we can safely assume that he will be the manager at least until the next international break, which isn't actually that long away, okay? And Manchester United's next kind of run of games is a little bit more favourable. I mean, it's still not easy, but it's games that you would expect Manchester United to... Well, I'd say expect Manchester United to win. You don't expect anything as Man United fans anymore. But if you look through the next few fixtures, you've got Brentford at home next. 3 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League. I mean, you have to win that game. Although I saw a stat yesterday that said apparently Brentford have scored more goals in one Premier League game than Man United have scored in 7 Premier League games. So that didn't really make good reading, but it is what it is. And then after that, you've got Leicester at home. Again, there's no excuses there. You've got Chelsea at home. Difficult game, but I would expect Man United to try and get a result against that one. And then the next international break is on 24th of November. So the next kind of run of fixtures is Leicester City, PAOK in the Europa League, Chelsea at home, Leicester City at home in the League Cup, West Ham away, Fenerbahce away, and Brentford away. So yeah, I think this next set of games will really tell us how the rest of the season's going to go. If we win our next 3 Premier League fixtures, we could be a couple of points off fourth easily. If we lose the next 3 fixtures, we could be in the relegation zone. We're at this kind of crossing the roads, aren't we? Where either we go towards the top 4 and people forget about the beginning of the season, or we continue to play badly and we're in the relegation zone and then Erik ten Hag will probably get sacked. So yeah, I'd say it's still 50-50. It's still up in the air. Do I think Erik ten Hag's the right man for the job to take us back to winning titles and stuff? I'll be honest, I don't think any manager is going to take us back to that position. I feel so pessimistic about the state of affairs at Manchester United at the moment that I just can't see it, whoever the manager is. We haven't won the Premier League in 11 years. We haven't challenged in 11 years, The people will look back on that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer season where he finished second and say, oh, Ole was great. He finished second. He challenged with Man City. In that season, we finished like 20 points off Man City at the end of the year. That's not challenging. Just because you finish second doesn't mean that you're challenging with the team in first. 20 points difference isn't challenging. I'm sorry. So yeah, do I think Erik ten Hag's the man to take us back to challenging and winning Champions Leagues? Probably not, but I can't see any manager at the moment on the market or even in any job, I just can't see it. I think we've got such a long way to go. We've got so much building to do behind the scenes that no matter who the manager is, I think it could take... I said on a video a couple of weeks ago that I can't see Man United winning a title again in my lifetime, and that's a crazy thing to say, I know, but the way that it's going at the moment and the way that it has been going for the last 10 years, I just don't see it. The Premier League has got so much more competitive. Arsenal are an amazing team now. Liverpool are very good. Man City, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Brighton, Newcastle. All of these teams 10 years ago, you'd say easy win, easy win. or maybe not all of them, but like if you're playing against Brighton 10 years ago, you'd say that's an easy win. If you're playing against Villa, you'd say easy win. Newcastle, you'd say probably an easy win. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now it's like you go away to Newcastle and you're not the favourites anymore. Whereas before we'd go away to Newcastle and batter them. So it's just incredibly competitive. And I think obviously with this Man City winning this court case, which is effectively going to allow them to pump more money into Man City because of the sponsorships, I think it's going to make it even more difficult because teams like Newcastle, who before were kind of blocked from spending money effectively, will now be able to spend money, obviously as long as it's within the PSR. But yeah, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Yeah, somebody's saying, have the clocks changed? No, I'm just doing the show a little bit earlier. I've been waking up a lot earlier at the moment. I've been waking up at like 6 a.m. for some reason. So I've just decided that I'm going to do the shows a little bit earlier. You know, like before I was waking up and then I was kind of like sitting around for a couple of hours before I could kind of start my day. So yeah, I've just decided to start the shows a little bit earlier. George says every opponent wants Erik ten Hag to stay. Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. I don't really speak to rival fans that much. Like, but the thing is, right, do you think if we got Thomas Tuchel, people would be like, oh my God, I'm so scared, Man United are back? They'll probably be like, he'll come in and he'll get sacked in 18 months, you know? I get your point, you know, that like, you know, rival fans are probably looking at the Ten Hag situation and hoping that he remains, but I don't think rival fans will also be looking at the new manager kind of options and be scared of them either, to be honest. I'd be very, very surprised. Let's see. What else have we got here in the chat today? Somebody says the environment at Manchester United still isn't right for any manager to win, and it's going to take a while to change it. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I would definitely agree. Johnny says we've got 2 games a week now for a long time. Yeah, we do. It's another crazy, crazy period, you know, where we've got games on like Thursday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, like for the next 6 weeks. So this is really going to be... It's make or break, I think, at this point for Ten Hag. Because when you look... I'm looking at the fixtures and I'm looking at the results over the last couple of months. Like the last time we won a game of football was against Barnsley. We haven't won a game of football in 5 games. The last time we won a Premier League game was in September. It was like a month ago. Like I think at the moment we're on, you know, we've got relegation form. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, and I'm sure he knows that. Like everybody knows that. He's got 6 weeks to save his job, really. But the thing is, right, that I always find a little bit weird, like when people are like, oh, he's got 6 weeks to save his job, like blah, blah, blah. The worst case scenario for Erik ten Hag is he loses his job. He gets reportedly around £17 million as a payoff for being sacked. And then he probably just goes back to Ajax. Like, if I was him, I would probably just do that, to be honest. You know, he doesn't support Man United. I know it's like an ego thing, a prestigious thing. He wants to try and make it work. But, you know, say it doesn't work at Man United, he's going to receive life-changing money and then could just go back to Ajax and probably will go there and, you know, stay there for as long as he needs to and, you know, rebuild and take Ajax back to where they were under him. Remember, Ajax are awful at the moment. Remember that. You know, a lot of people say Erik ten Hag's not a good manager just because, I don't know what they base it off, but they say he's not a good manager. But since he's left Ajax, they haven't won the title. They're 5th at the moment. Last season, they finished 5th. Season before that, they finished 3rd. And the season before that, they finished 1st, and that was under Erik ten Hag. So in the last 3 seasons, since Erik ten Hag's left, they finished 3rd, they finished 5th, and now they're sat 5th as well. So they're struggling, Ajax. They're not doing well. They're not even in the Champions League, I don't think, are they? Or the Europa League. Oh, they are in they're in the Conference League, I believe. So, yeah, they're struggling. But it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of pans out. But let's move on to Álvaro Fernández. Obviously, the young, talented left-back who was a Manchester United youth player and then recently moved to Benfica. But the news this morning is that apparently Álvaro Fernández is being targeted by Manchester United to return. This is one thing I will say. Why did we let Álvaro Fernández go? He's clearly a quality left-back. He's starting every single week for Benfica, who are a better team than Manchester United at the moment. Like, why did we let him go? And why did we let him go for such a small amount of money? I try and make sense of these things. And I try and say, well, you know, he wanted to leave, he wanted to develop, blah, blah, blah. And maybe that's the truth. But the fact of the matter is he's a 21-year-old who plays every single week for Benfica. And we sold him for €6 million, which is what, £4-5 million? And at that point, we had Luke Shaw, who's injury prone, and Malacia. Those were our only options. And I think it just makes us look very, very stupid. But let's remember that this was a pre-Ineos decision. This was under the Glazers. The Glazers probably just saw that as €6 million for a player they'd never even heard of. They probably were told, we're going to sell Álvaro Fernández. And they probably said, we don't know who that is. And someone would have told them that it's a promising youth player. And they'd say, I'll sell him. €6 million for a youth player, we'll take that. That was probably the conversation that went down, because we know for a fact that the Glazers aren't football people. And we know that every big footballing decision, until Ineos took over the footballing side, would have to go through the Glazers. So they would have had to sign off on selling Álvaro Fernández for €6 million, And I honestly would not be surprised if they were asked, shall we sell Álvaro Fernández for €6 million? And they were probably like, we don't know who that is. And then they were like, he's a youth player. And they were like, okay, cool, €6 million, we'll take that. But the news this morning is that apparently Man United have a buyback clause. And apparently they want to try and trigger this buyback clause to bring Álvaro Fernández back to Manchester United. Now, there are lots and lots of other teams apparently interested in him as well, which is mad. Apparently Barcelona are also trying to sign him, which shows how talented this player is, The fact that he has this interest from Barcelona and Real Madrid, as well as obviously Manchester United. He's clearly a very, very talented player. And with Mazraoui obviously now being injured, we'll talk about that in a minute. This would be, it would be a really, really good deal to do. So the deal that we agreed with Benfica was €6 million plus a buyback clause. We've got a matching rights clause and a sell-on clause as well. So we've kind of got the control of this situation. Obviously, the player still has to want to move back to Manchester United. Would he want to move? Maybe not. Let's be real. If Barcelona and Real Madrid come knocking, you're probably going to go there. I mean, I would at this point. If I was Álvaro Fernández, he's not Manchester, he's not like a Manchester born and bred player who's, he's Spanish. He's a Spanish player. He was born in Spain and he's got the two biggest clubs in Spain trying to sign him. I mean, if I was him, I would say, thank you very much for everything, Manchester United, but I'm sorry, I'm going to move to Real Madrid. There's not even an argument there for me. Why would he come back to Manchester United? It's disappointing. It's another player that we've let go that probably is going to turn out to be, I think, one of the best left backs in the world. To be playing for Benfica every week at the age of 20, you have to be good. Benfica are a solid side, aren't they? But there's not much we can do about it now. I'm just having a look how Benfica are actually doing at the moment, because I know Sporting Lisbon are top, aren't they, in the Portuguese league. Let me have a little look at the fixtures. I think Benfica are in the Champions League, aren't they? Yeah, they're in the Champions League. They just beat Salzburg in the Champions League. I don't think they're doing very well. Are they in the Champions League? No. They finished second last season, so they've got to be in one of the competitions. Let's have a look. Fixtures by date. They're in the Champions League. Yeah. So he's playing in the Champions League, whereas we're playing in the Europa League. Is that right? They just beat Atletico Madrid 4-0 in the Champions League. Benfica, crazy. And they're currently third in the Portuguese league. Fair play. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether Man United can get this one, over the line. I would definitely bring him back. I think he was quality from what I've seen of him in the youth setup. But as I said, when you've got Real Madrid and Barcelona knocking, let's be real, you're probably going to go there. But I'll obviously keep you updated on that one. And let's move over to Mazraoui then, shall we? Because this story, I would say it caught me by surprise, but nothing really surprises me with Manchester United anymore. So the general headline is apparently that this is coming from Fabrizio yesterday, that apparently Mazraoui has some sort of was having some sort of heart palpitations. Obviously, I hope he's okay. He's had some sort of surgery. That's what Fabrizio's saying. Let me just get the story up for you here, because there was loads of information coming around yesterday that was causing quite a lot of concern. So yeah, let's try and get it from Fabrizio, because we know that Fabrizio usually puts out the more reliable journalism. So let's see what Fabrizio had to say about this. Right. Mazraoui, where are you? Okay, here it is. So it says Manchester United fullback Mazraoui has successfully undergone a minor procedure after experiencing palpitations. Fabrizio says this is relatively common, as he is expected to make a full recovery and be available for selection within the next few weeks. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about this, and obviously it's come as a surprise. The story also says that apparently Man United were aware of this, like when they signed him, so they knew that it was there. I don't know if you'd call this an injury as such. It's more of like a medical condition, isn't it? It's not like it's like he's broken his leg or he's twisted his ankle. It's, it's an actual medical condition. But yeah, obviously I hope he's okay. I hope he's back in time, because at the moment, looking at it from purely a footballing perspective, the only player who can play at left back and right back properly is Dalot now. Obviously Luke Shaw's injured still, Malacia is injured still, and now Mazraoui's injured. Obviously Lisandro Martinez can play at left back, but I'll be honest, I don't really like him at left back. And Lindelof can play at right back. If I was Erik ten Hag, right, which obviously I'm not, but this is just my opinion. If I was Erik ten Hag, he's been given a second chance. He's probably got till the next international break, which is in November, to turn it round. You've now got an injury crisis at left back and right back. What I would do is move to a back five. I'd play 3 centre-backs. You could have Martinez, you could have De Ligt, and then you could have either Maguire, Johnny Evans, or Lindelof. Obviously, Lenny Yoro's injured. He would come in as soon as he's back. But you have 3 centre-backs, and then you have obviously a left wing-back and a right wing-back. So that could be, I don't know, Garnacho on the left, Ahmad on the right. However you want to do it, because they're effectively an attacking right-back, someone who has to defend but also goes forward. And we know that both Garnacho and Ahmad do a lot of defensive work and are willing to track back and all the rest of it. So I would go to a back five. I don't really understand this whole thing where people are like, oh, we've got an injury crisis at left back, we've got an injury crisis at right back. Well, you can just adapt. I know it's not ideal. I know I'm not saying that it makes it easy, but you've got 5 or 6 quality centre-backs, let's say, in Martinez, De Ligt, Lindelof, Maguire, Johnny Evans, Some of them are obviously better than others. I'm not saying they're all quality, but we have 5 centre-backs who are fit. Like Casemiro can play at centre-back as well, so 6 technically. 6 centre-backs who are fit. Just move to have 3 centre-backs. Back 5. Like, that's the solution until we get until we get Luke Shaw and all the rest of them back. And I think that probably would close up the shop a little bit more. But whether or not he'll do that, I don't know. I'm wondering if Erik ten Hag has ever played a back 5 before. Let's have a look. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I mean, he usually obviously plays the 4-2-3-1, doesn't he? Yeah, I'm not sure if he has ever played a back 5. If anybody knows in the chat. So it says on here that apparently Ten Hag has experimented using a back 5 with the under-21 side. He says his usual formations are either 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2 diamond, or 4-2-4. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a formation that he uses very often, but, could give it a try. What else have we got in the chat this morning? Let's have a little sip of my tea. Gary says, what about Harry Amas? Could we bring him to the first team? I mean, the thing is, right, it's easy for me or you to say, give Harry Amas a chance. But, we don't know how far along in his development Harry Amas is. We don't know how, physically strong he is. We don't know. We just don't know, do we? So, I could sit here and say, oh, it's a disgrace that Harry Amas isn't playing. But I just think it's a bit, I don't have the full picture. In theory, yeah, give Harry Amas a go. But at the end of the day, we're just football fans, aren't we? We don't watch them train. We don't know. We've probably never even seen Harry Amas in person, face to face. He might be really small. He might be really he might not be muscly enough to play. I don't know. I have no idea. But in theory, Harry Amas sounds like a great option. But he's still playing with the under-21s, And the only issue you have is if you throw him into the team and he plays terribly, then that could be the end of his career for Manchester United, You've got to slowly bring in these youth players, really. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day, whatever you're doing. Please make sure to drop a like on the video before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye for now. Take care.